Welcome to the Delmarva Almanac. Each week we connect you to the best of Delmarva. Like other almanacs, our aim is to tell you a little bit about our past, our present, and events in the near future. I'm your host, Dana Kester McCabe. Marilyn Buerkle recently visited Pemberton Hall, an 18th century home in Wicomico County. Here she is to tell us what she learned about colonial festivities on Delmarva.
Pemberton Hall, a plantation home completed in 1741, is listed on the National Register of Historic Places and maintained as an interpretive museum of local colonial life by the Pemberton Hall Foundation. Bill Wilson, a longtime member of the Foundation's board, is our guide. Our first lesson: Thanksgiving didn't exist, and Christmas was a very low-key event.
Thanksgivings were for a special purpose. In Europe, for example, Thanksgivings would be set aside to thank for winning a battle or, being saved from the plague. It would not have been a holiday called Thanksgiving. Actually, Thanksgiving is not something, it's not even created until the Civil War and not even put into effect until the 20th century. Christmas was not really celebrated either in the way that we think of it being celebrated. It was usually a very quiet occasion. In the Chesapeake, they would, on Christmas Day, they would fire guns from one plantation to another, so you'd hear them echoing all up and down the river. You might attend church service, but it was not all decorations, all hands on.
The one winter event that was likely to bring people together was Twelfth Night, a Christian holiday that marked the coming of the Epiphany and ended the traditional 12 days of Christmas.
And they would have a party, a celebration, I'd put it that way, where relatives would come in and friends and neighbors would come in. The major meal of the day is eaten about 2 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and that is dinner. Supper is what's left over from dinner, and supper is eaten about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and it's usually cold. Next morning, what you haven't eaten from dinner and from supper is going to be served as your breakfast, along with some waffles and hot milk.
Travel in the dead of winter was no easy task, so unlike the few hours of holiday celebration we might enjoy, in the 18th century guests came and stayed for 2 or 3 days. Their holiday meal would have featured multiple entrees, likely beef, ham, and fish. Absent any refrigeration, they would have been preserved with salt. It's also possible local geese or duck would be on the menu. That's if your host was a good shot.
We have nice, accurate shotguns now and nice, accurate rifles to shoot deer with. They didn't. You're eating what's available to you, but you're also raising it. So you're raising cattle, you're raising pigs. Now you keep in mind they are cooking this in fireplaces. So it's not the kind of thing where everything is on the table hot. As you finish your dishes, you put them on the table and you cover them. And that might be sitting there 2 or 3 hours before you get ready to serve it.
This is Marilyn Buerkle. You're listening to the Delmarva Almanac, and we're talking to Bill Wilson from the Pemberton Hall Foundation about 18th century holiday meals. His description of preparation and storage makes it clear salmonella and other foodborne illnesses were prevalent, but not always deadly.
I think they'd gotten some immunities. They had terrible stomach problems, and there were all kinds of remedies that went on, home remedies that went along with that. So I think they had acquired some immunities to things that would really do us in.
In fact, it was the threat of water-related sickness that kept alcohol flowing at every meal.
If you're drinking water, it has wine in it. Even children in their baby bottle are given watered-down wine. And they didn't know why, but you didn't get sick if you did it that way. But you're drinking ciders, hard cider. It wasn't soft cider that you're buying in the supermarket now, apple juice. It was hard cider that they were drinking, and everybody drank it, the children included. I think, like everything else, you build up a tolerance to it. So no, I don't think they were buzzed all the time.
Maybe the best news about colonial celebrations? Our founding fathers liked their sweets. You didn't have to wait for dessert to have pie.
They liked a lot of sweets with things, and they liked a lot of, for example, a lot of pies. Now, we think of pie as being dessert, not in the 18th century. You would have had pie as part of your dinner. and part of your supper.
So colonial cooks may have inadvertently invented a distinctly 21st century adage. Life is short. Eat dessert first.
If you'd like to visit Pemberton Hall, tours are available. To schedule an appointment, call 410-742-1741. And if you'd like to create a little colonial holiday spirit for your home, visit Pemberton Hall December 5th at 11 a.m. For $10, visitors can learn to make a natural holiday wreath with locally harvested greenery. Find links and details for these and other heritage events on our website, delmarvaalmanac.com/history. Well, that's all for this edition of the Delmarva Almanac. We'd like to thank our community partners, the Friends of Delmarva Public Radio, the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore, and underwriters, eatdrinkbuyart.com, for their help in bringing this program to you, our audience. Our theme music was provided by Brightside Studio. This show has been a Moonshell production. Thanks for listening. Until we meet again, may the rhythms and tides of Delmarva bring you good fortune.